Alright. My name is Michael Santos, and I'll be refuting the claim that there are many established ways of the American culture that makes this country not so just by many factors cannot control. It's a bit of a mouthful. Well, first off, I'd like to say I don't think it's a matter of issue of equality in America, but of equal opportunity in America. My opponent's first secondary claim states different economic classes bring different opportunities in a way a person lives. There is no argument that the United States has economic classes. There is, however, an argument about the classes not having the same opportunities. We are not failing to recognize there are people who are really rich and people who are really poor. Does this mean that people are trapped in these classes? No. Economic mobility is enabled by economic responsibility, meaning if you want to move up in your economic status, you should take initiative. Family support, education, and hard work are key to lifting people out of poverty and into good jobs. Being the land of opportunity does not mean that everything will be handed to you. Examples of people like this is Condoleezza Rice, Gene Simmons, Walt Disney, Bill Gates, the Hiltons, Hugh Hefner, people who had nothing and they have empires, and these people did not inherit their money they have now. They created their empires. My opponent's second claim states, being in a different social class brings different ways of education. The argument is not whether everyone is receiving the same type of education, but is everyone receiving the same opportunities of an education. According to statistics of the article, The Influence of Social Class on Education, 83.9% of the U.S. population has completed their education at high school level. 42% of these high school students, 42% of these high school graduates enter college or universities, and 27% of these students actually complete their bachelor's degree. Yes, there's a substantial gap between those who obtain a degree and those who do not. But this does not mean that they have the opportunity. The 50% that did not obtain the degree had the opportunity, but were not able to come out with the degree. And people who weren't able to get into a university or college, there's still opportunities of military, opportunity where you can enlist and go in after you serve. My opponent's final claim states a person's probability of being successful is contributed through his or her gender and race. Well, there's no denying that there is racism and sexism in the United States, but I would strongly disagree with racism and sexism being a contributing factor to women and minority success. Many successful women and minorities would very take offense of this. Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, people that succeed. They didn't succeed because they were African American. They succeed because they took initiative to get into where they're at now. Many people also use racism and sexism as an excuse of not being hired. Just because someone does not hire you does not mean it's personal. According to recent statistics of the U.S. Equal Employment and Opportunity Commission, 52% of the working force is men and 48% is women. 66% are white and 34% are minorities. With these numbers rising in the women and minority category, is not so bad considering that the majority of the population is male and white. And I'd like to notice that the speaker's evidence used in his speech was really outdated. Most of it was in the 90s. There's been a lot of developments over the years. In conclusion, America is still the land of equal opportunity.
All right, you labeled the advocate's claims pretty clearly. You explained your arguments adequately. Mostly you've got counterclaims that are being applied here, and you've got different criteria that you're going to use. The economic opportunities as a distinct way of approaching this, I thought, was a very reasonable challenge to make. You could use a little bit more statistical data. Your examples are fine, and they're good illustrations. You know, the Condoleezza Rice. How many times is Condoleezza Rice going to get mentioned tonight, boy? You know, good for her. You know, and I'm always up for it when anybody ever mentions Gene Simmons. That's a good one for me. But you know, there's got to be some statistical information. For instance, if you looked at the changes in the number of women in the workforce, or the changes in the level of pay that they've got from 30 years ago to today, you'd be able to see all kinds of progress and differences. And I think you could back up your argument a little bit more with some statistics. The examples are okay, but I don't know that they're the most convincing element that's going on there. I had a problem for the argument toward the end when I'm thinking here, well, he didn't say anything about the advocate's use of evidence, and so we don't really get much of a contrast. And then right at the end, you make some point about it, but it's not very well developed, and it's not organized according to the issues that you talked about, so it just feels a little underwhelming. And you know, I think you've got a good competing argument. You follow the structure of the advocate, but you don't always give us the contrast that we need to have in order to show that your conclusion is the one that we ought to believe. There's just a lot of shuffling and movement here. Apparently people are under the impression that we aren't going to hear another speaker. Okay, I want to double check something here, okay, before you all rush out the door. Christine, Stephen, and Devin, you're the last three evaluation forms I have. Is there somebody else? So all of a sudden now it's 4.
No.
And now it's 5.
No, you knew that from the beginning. I just have a sheet for it.
Okay, well, I'm just, like I said, okay. I would like to try and get in one more. Is there somebody who would like to jump in and do this before the weekend? All right, well, there you go. Enjoy.